back. We back. Welcome back to another episode of the Who Asked Y'all To podcast, episode 16. If you ain't been tapped in already to the Who Asked Y'all To podcast, two of your favorite podcasters here for some more content for y'all. You got me, Chris Porter here, and as always, my good brother on the other side checking in with us, my good brother MDot. What's going on, bro? What's going on, Dot? How you feeling, man?
Good, bro. God is good. Blessed. Can't say nothing else, bro. Just taking it a day at a time, dealing with work, dealing with life, but everything's good on this end, bro. What about you?
Amen to that, man. Same. Everything is good. Staying level-headed through all the nonsense, through everything that gets thrown our way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Harlem shaking through all of it. No Diddy. You know what I mean? But pushing through for sure. Happy to be back on here. Happy to jump on with you as always, man. Excited for what we got for sure.
All right, bet. So let's dive in it, man. Let's dive in it because it's been a while since we tapped in. So let's tap in it righteously and right. So we got a beautiful episode for y'all today. We're gonna cover various topics. We're gonna talk about CP's favorite person in the world, Candace Owens. Now, if you guys don't know who Candace Owens is, she's a political pundit. She used to work for the Daily Wire. She's no longer there. We're going to talk about them parting ways and what kind of happened with that. What was the drama behind that? If y'all didn't know, Kendrick K.Dot K with the DOT is back. He just hopped on a record with Future and Metro Boomin called Like That. And during that song, he kind of came at fellow rappers like Drake and J.Cole. So we're going to talk about that, this, and the history behind it, and why he came at them so hard as he did. And then also we're going to talk about Coach Prime, the coach of the University of Colorado, Deion Sanders, who's on the $1 million worth of game, talking about NIL and just the status of NIL deals and what that's kind of doing to college football as of now. And also, lastly, but surely not least, we're going to talk about Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, Brother Love, whatever you call him. Every name is on a lawsuit at this moment. So we're going to talk about that. Again, we have to throw in the disclaimer so we don't get striked or anything like that. All the lawsuits against Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs is alleged. Everything is alleged. All alleged. We're not saying anything's true. It's all alleged. We're just going to cover it and give our perspective on it. So without further ado, let's dive into Candace Owens parting ways with Daily Wire. So for those of you guys don't know, Candace Owens has been working for Daily Wire for about a few years now as a conservative broadcaster for them, having her own show called it Candace Owens Podcast, interviewing guests, all different type of people. The latest podcast interview she had an individual named Rabbi Shmuley, who Candace and Rabbi Shmuley have been getting into a lot of back and forth. Rabbi Shmuley claiming that Candace Owens is anti-Semitic. And if we go back even further, Candace said some things that Ben Shapiro didn't take lightly. And everybody who doesn't know Ben Shapiro is pro-Israel. He's a Jew. He's an Orthodox Jew. He's very pro-Israel. And, the things that Candace was saying was very, peace, neutral. I'm not going to take sides, but I kind of want this war to stop. Ben didn't really take kindly to that. There was a video that surfaced where he said some unkind remarks about Candace Owens during a party or private event. He was recorded, pretty much saying that her behavior was despicable. And I'm paraphrasing here, but it was unkind things he said about Candace Owens. Candace kind of decided she wasn't going to address it, but they kind of went back and forth on Twitter. Ben allegedly telling Candace Owens, hey, you need to quit. Why don't you just leave Daily Wire? And then it kind of just snowballed after that. They had their issues back and forth. And then if people watch Candace on podcasts like me, Candace Owens then came out with an interview with a podcast, if you guys don't know, talking about the president of France's wife. Mrs. Marcon. And for those of you who don't know about their relationship, Emmanuel Marcon's wife is 25 years older than him. The first lady of France is about 70 years old. Emmanuel Macron is about in his 50s and like early 50s, late 40s, and they met when he was young. But the reason why this is an issue is because she talked about a theory that's going around claiming that the first lady of France was formerly a man, so a transgender individual. So that is a big issue and it's a big thing. And if those of you don't know, if you're gonna call out somebody, especially a first lady of a premier country, a first world country, there's gonna be some backlash. And Candace Owens did receive backlash, and eventually removed the podcast, those podcast episodes from her YouTube channel. So the speculation is that with this interview, with the blowback between her and Ben Shapiro, with the sourness of it, she kind of did that that podcast episode to try to get out of her contract or try to, and this is all a theory. This is just a theory that's what's been going on in the internet. To try to get out of her podcast, deal with Daily Wire to try to start her own and branch off and start her own podcast network or whatever she's going to end up doing or partner with another entertainment company. So, even now people were coming out saying, "Oh, Candace Owens got fired by Daily Wire. She wasn't. They let her go, and it wasn't even that. They just parted ways. So she was able to say, "I'm free." She posted on Twitter saying, "I'm finally free," and now she's able to do what she wants, say what she wants without having any consequences, which I do respect and I do like that about Candace Owens, and I think she really stands by a lot of things she says. I think she's well spoken. I think she's going to do great things, parting ways with Daily Wire and doing her own. And I can see now she's on a media run now. If you guys are following her closely, she just did the Breakfast Club, which did a lot of views, and it kind of led a lot of people that didn't like Candace Owens or didn't really understand what she was about kind of do a whole 360 like, this woman kind of, I kind of like what she's saying. Now, there's some things that people are not going to like about her. Number one, people are not going to like that she's black and she has a white husband. That's one thing people are not going to like about it. If you're going to talk about black issues, then why did you marry a white man? That's always the caveat. Like, you're going to talk about this, you're going to talk about that, but you married someone that's not even of your race, which to each his own. But that's one of the things that's talked about now. But I think she's doing a hell of a run right now. She's on different podcasts. She's kind of making her network known and doing what she has to do to kind of grow her network. And I'm not going to tie up too much time. CP, what you got on that? I know that was pretty long. I apologize.
No, you're good, man. I appreciate all the backstory. I'm obviously, not obviously, but I'm not as familiar in all of her content as you are. So, like I said, I appreciate the context of everything. I watched the Breakfast Club interview, like you mentioned, and it did give me it gave me a fresh perspective on Candace Owens as somebody who was a little, who had been turned off on her, but hadn't really taken much time. In full transparency, hadn't taken much time to to digest a lot of her content. Just because the stuff that I saw was enough to turn me off, and enough to make me not be a fan. The Breakfast Club interview was a dope interview, though. It was. I think it did her well, and it served her well amongst people of color like us, who, people like me, who didn't necessarily support her or agree with her ideologies. Not to say that I do now, as opposed to then or anything like that, but just to hear her perspective and hear how well read she is and some of her history. It made me appreciate the fight that she's fighting for, even if I don't necessarily fully agree. I can appreciate the fact that she is voicing her opinion and can articulate herself in a way where it doesn't have to come off as super offensive or super tone deaf to what may actually be going on in the world, especially in this country for African Americans. So I appreciated the interview for sure. Now, the Daily Wire stuff is interesting because, when she touched on it in the interview and looking at some of the tweets, again, full disclosure, I'm not a Jewish person. I have several Jewish relatives who I probably should have tapped in and gotten their perspective on it. But with that being said, I didn't feel like her tweets, which I guess set things off, were super anti-Semitic. I didn't know, I hadn't been informed on how the word or the verbiage that she was using um made her commentary or made her tweets anti-Semitic. So it was interesting. Um, Ben Shapiro is a founder of the Daily Wire, so I'm sure it didn't sit well with him being somebody who's closely connected to um to Israel and to Jewish culture to have her work for his company. So it was probably inevitable that we got to this point, and I'm fully in support of her. Her using her voice to amplify a platform for herself as opposed to going and working for somebody else, because that may be the direction that suits her best. It's not always in the best interest to go working for a company that may or may not have a certain agenda. Not to put that on the Daily Wire or anything like that, but um, that may not be in full support of what you're trying to push. So, from that standpoint, it's going to suit her well to be independent as opposed to being tied to a big company. So I'm excited to see what's to come for her. I'm excited to dive into more of her content, truth be told.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who tries to remain open minded at all times, and so hearing her um hearing her speak like openly and honestly and just articulate herself in a way that, like I said, just wasn't like super brash, but also knowing her stuff as well. I found appreciation in it. I don't dislike her as much as I thought I did, or as much as I was maybe led to believe previously. So, that being said, I'm not like a fan or anything like that. Like, I'm not rushing to the Candace Owens content or anything like that. But I think it's a space for everybody to exist and have their perspective and have their platforms without necessarily having to throw insults at them and everything like that. So, more power to her. Like I said, I'm in full support of it. Um, the Daily Wire stuff was just it was kind of a foregone conclusion. Once you and the CEOs of the company are bumping heads and stuff, like your time there won't be very long. So, um, inevitable at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on a couple other things I forgot to mention.
Mhm.
So Candace Owens, because she works for the Daily Wire, anything she says, if it's found like if it's defamation or anything like that, a person can sue the Daily Wire. So that's why when I said about her talking about the first lady, that could have been a plan of hers. Now this is the theory that she did that, followed that conspiracy, said it, and then the first lady could have said, "Well, we're suing the Daily Wire, so they're going to be liable of that. So if they get sued, it's like, whoa, we can't deal with this no more. She got to go." And that could have been a thing where it's like with everything together, this could have been something that pushed it a little bit more. And then also recently, she put a tweet or something where she said Christ is King, and the Daily Wire said that's anti-Semitic because you're saying it in response to someone that is Jewish. And everybody knows people that are Jewish do not believe that Jesus Christ is their Messiah. That's the whole thing. That's like she put that up there because she's a Christian. She believes that. But Jeremy Boring, who is the CEO of Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro is not. He doesn't have an active role as a CEO or on the board no longer. He's kind of just there. He did found the company, but he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any power to kind of you're fired. He doesn't have that power. He may have to say so, but he doesn't have the direct power to do that. But yeah, I think that played a role a lot too. And like you said, I concur with you, man. Like I think she's gonna do great on her own, or if she partners with another entertainment company. I think that's the goal for her.
Yeah, that makes the most sense right now. I think independent media is winning right now anyway. So for somebody in her position that already has a large following, who already has a space carved out for herself, that this just makes the most sense. So I mean, from what you was explaining, like, especially with the first lady of France. Was it France?
Yeah, First Lady of France.
First lady of France. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And the thing I appreciated was, in spite of taking down the content or whatever, it's not like she's not doubling down on it. She doubled down on the fact that she believes that. So, you
Yeah.
know, it is what it is. It is what
Crazy
it is at
part.
the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, if you going to say it, stand on it. So I definitely appreciate that for sure.
Definitely stand on it. Definitely stand on it. But all right, moving on. We covered enough of Candace. So now we're gonna talk about Kendrick K. Dot. Coming out of a long hiatus for new music. It's been a while since I heard some new K. Dot. To be honest, I haven't really heard anything new from in a while. But to hear him come on,
I think the last
Future
one was
Metro.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, right?
Yeah, that was like a year ago, a year and a half ago. Been a minute.
Probably.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So K. Dot came on a track called Like That, which is on Future's new album, Future Metro Boomin. And the song is called Like That. And on the track, Future's on there, he's rapping. Then K. Dot comes in there, he's rapping, and he says a bar that goes, I think it goes F the big three, nigga, N word is just me or something like that. It's something like that, right?
I got the verse right here, actually, if you want me to
Yeah, go
read
ahead and
it.
read it. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Shit. Let me take these off for a second. These N-words talking out of their necks. Don't pull no coughing out your mouth. I'm way too paranoid for a threat. AA, let's get it, bro. DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better. Say it's a lot of goofies with a check. I mean, I hope them sentiments symbolic. My temperament bipolar. I choose violence. Okay, let's get it up. It's time for him to prove that he's a problem. N words clicking up, but cannot be legit. No 40 water. Tell him, yeah, huh? Yeah, get up with me. F sneak dissing, first person shooter. I hope they came with 3 switches. I crash out like F rap. This Melly Mel if I have to. Got 2 T's with me. I'm snatching chains and burning tattoos. It's up. Lost too many soldiers not to play it safe. If you walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre 3K. Think I won't drop the location. I still got PTSD. Mother F the big 3 and it's just big me and we're bum. What I'm really like that. And your best work is a light pack and where Prince outlived Mike Jack. Bum. For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K with all these nines. He gonna see Pet Cemetery. Bum.
Mm, mm,
That's Kendrick on Future's new album.
So there it is, right? And thank you, Chris, for reciting the whole bar. I appreciate that.
I don't rap it as well as Kendrick, so I
Yeah,
apologize.
nah, but you did it. You did it very, very well phonetically. So with that bar, and people didn't get it. The diss is the last portion, like Chris said. Think I won't drop the location. I still got PTSD. My MF is the big 3. Nigga, it's just big me. So what he's saying is, big 3 is him, Cole, Drake. That's the big 3. That's the big 3 of our generation. That's our generation because they both came out around.
Yeah.
I want to say 2010, 2011, around that time. Like they all came out around that time with their albums, like their solo albums. Their first solo album dropped around that time. So Kendrick is saying, "Nah, it's just me, dude. I'm not on the same level as those guys. I'm up around. I'm a higher level than them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't really. I don't know, man. They're both. I think they're all 3 of them are good in their own right. But how you feel about the diss, brother? I think rap needs it.
Nah, that's I definitely agree with that sentiment. Like, the competitiveness in music don't really feel like it's there anymore. I think the
Nope.
girls got it. It's a lot of competitiveness amongst the females, and that's cool to see. But as far as the men in rap and hip hop, we don't really get that in 2024. Not on the level that those three individuals is on. You know what I mean?
No.
Even in years past, with said individuals, like previously, we're talking about Drake and Pusha T or something like that. So this is actual, upper echelon. Not to take anything away from Pusha T, but he's not really like on their level as far as current appeal. He's from a different generation. So with these three coming up together, having relationships over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and there being signs of tension before, I think that we was all waiting on this at some point, waiting for somebody to step out there. So I like, if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be Kendrick for sure. Like it was always going to be Kendrick that stepped out there and cemented his name as one of one as opposed to one of three. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate it. I liked it. Reading it because I didn't hear it at first. I read it before I got to listen to it, and reading it, like I said, I don't read it as well as he actually performed it on the verse, but I wasn't overwhelmed when I read it. When I heard it, I'm not a super Kendrick stan like some people that we know, but I thought it was dope, man. Like you
Yeah.
said, I thought it was what we needed.
Yep.
I thought it was what music and what hip hop, what rap needed. So it's just, it's a matter of time before. I'm hoping that it's a matter of time before we get some responses, before before we see what the other two on the other side are going to end up saying in response. I don't think it's a situation where either can sit out on the sideline and not respond. Like I don't really think that's an option at this point for them to just not respond. But I'm interested to see how they perform and respond. And um like we were saying, I think this was definitely something that we needed for music, for rap, the sport of rap and hip hop that's missing in 2024. I am definitely interested to hear their responses once
Yeah.
we get them, if we ever get them. Um, I think that I'm not even going to lie to you. Like I'm definitely probably more so interested in hearing a response from J. Cole as opposed to Drake. Taking nothing away from Drake, I think we've seen Drake in this sort of environment before, which is cool, you know what I mean? But for Cole, I think this is a new realm. This is a new environment as far as somebody challenging you on a lyrical level, or, distancing themselves from you on a competitive standpoint, putting you underneath them as far as competition is concerned. I don't think that, as the MC that he is, um, that he's just going to take. I'm hoping that he don't just take that lying down. So
No. No.
I'm I'm super interested to hear the responses, man. I'm super interested to hear what we get out of this. Yeah, I'm hoping that the light skinned brothers don't fold. You know what I mean? Like I'm hoping that they come through for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I do want to hear Cole because Drake usually gets dissed by somebody every 2 years. So we kind of already seen how he responds and what happens, and he usually comes in with the big guns, and he usually just disseminates anybody that comes after him. Well, I mean, the Pusha T one was Pusha T kind of was getting him in that beat, but
Ain't no
needless
kind of push a
yeah,
one.
like that one was I didn't see Drake winning that one at all. But like you said, I agree with you. I think Cole. I want to see his response. I'm kind of shocked that they're taking this long to respond. You know, I thought he would go in the lab
Why?
like the next day, like go in the lab the next day because it's hot. It's still that's what I'm thinking. Like if I'm not mistaken, but when Drake and Meek had their little beef, Meek dissed Drake. Drake came back the next day or so. Not I don't even want to say the next week. It was like the next couple of days. He already had a diss track already. So and it wasn't like it. That was a fresh track. It wasn't a pre-record. It wasn't unreleased music. That was directly to Meek. So we need to figure out what's going on with Drake and Cole, because what's taking so long? This song came out last week, earlier this week. So
Friday, probably the it probably actually came out like Thursday,
yeah,
Wednesday, Thursday. So
what's taking so long? What's taking so long?
now, do you give them any sort of grace for being on tour? Because they are on tour right now.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, if that's then I kind of give them a little bit of grace. But I mean, these guys are multi-million-dollar artists. Like if they want, like it wouldn't take them long to write something up, go in the booth, record it, and send it out. I don't think it would take them that long to do that. That probably take half a night. You're not talking about rookies here. You're talking about guys that's been doing this for majority of their life, and they're one of the greats to do it. So come on, man. Like
No, I mean, I need a response soon. I definitely need a response soon. But I don't know, man. Like, yo, it's Kendrick, so you gotta do your homework first of all. Like, not to say that they don't know each other, but you know,
right.
if you dissing, you gotta have something to diss on. So you know,
Yeah, it is true.
You can just come up with some catchy raps that's fire, you
Yeah.
know, and put those out and just say anything. But if you want something, I guess, to be fact based or
Yeah, you got to say something that kind of hits.
semi. Yeah, like you got to say something that's a little bit It's sad you got to do that in diss raps, but like you got to say something a little bit salacious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Say something about their girl.
So
Say something about
we'll
something
see.
or whatever. Like I get what you're saying.
Something
It
you
got
broke
to be
or
something
like you don't got the hits I got or I don't something. But I mean, nonetheless, I agree with you. I agree with you that we need something soon. While it's fresh in people's heads.
Yeah, because all the momentum kind of dies. Like if Drake never responds in like a week or two, then it's kind of like, okay, that song is just a nice party song we can listen to. It's a nice song, but people are gonna forget. Oh yeah, by the way, this is the Kendrick diss two people in this song, and people are like, I didn't catch that. I'm like, there was a whole thing about it. Now if you don't respond, it kind of goes away, and nobody cares about it anymore. So the momentum dies, the hype dies, and I get it. Like you said, they on tour, we give them a little bit of grace, but come on, guys, like. You gotta get something out there. Like you gotta get something. You act like one of your tour buses don't got a recording studio on there. They probably do.
They all got recording studios.
Phone is a recording studio. Stop it.
I do want to ask you though, as like more of a casual fan, maybe somebody that might not be super into it. Do you make anything out of Kendrick putting this verse on a Future album? Like somebody who's made a lot of songs with Drake over the years.
I mean, now we do know that Drake and Future have beef now. So
apparently
they have their own beef. So was this beef something that already happened, or was it something that because Kendrick got beef, I got beef now, or was it something where because the alleged story is like they messing with the same chick, something happens, boom, they not messing with each other no more. Drake and Future's not cool no more. So, I mean, I take it as that was a nice relationship and that was a nice collaboration. Drake and Future, they always made great hits, but everybody dealing with the same woman, stuff happens. It is what it is. I mean, I think Kendrick. I don't think Kendrick has any animosity or any hate towards Drake or J.Cole. I think he just really did this for the love of the game. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't. They've never had issues in the past. Not that I'm aware of.
Control from a few years ago.
I mean, yeah, but that was so long. That was what 2011.
Nah, that was like either 14 or 15, something like that.
That was a goddamn
Kendrick, man.
Kendrick murdered everybody in that.
So let me ask you another question. Let me ask you another question, and we'll just get straight to the point on this one. Who you taking? Who you taking?
In what? In a diss?
Out of the three, I mean, you got to pick out of the three. So, I mean, technically, it's like two sides. I guess you can consider it. You got the Kendrick side, and then you got Drake and Cole on the other side. But it's really three MCs here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though the other two are friends. So, you know, if you had to pick out of the three as far as who you think is going to make the better record in this situation, you know,
Oh, in
who
this
you got coming
situation,
out on top?
Kendrick.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not even a question.
Kendrick.
Like Drake. It's the thing. Drake can definitely give you a hit, right? His diss track might be a hit, but I don't want that. I want blood. I want tears. I want salaciousness. I want negativity. I want all of that. I don't care about the catchy tunes or the rhymes or anything like that. And then, like you said, we've never seen it from J. Cole before, so it's unprecedented. So I can't really say, oh, Cole. I know Cole from his albums. I know what he's capable of. And when it comes to dissing somebody, it's unprecedented. I don't know what he's gonna do. This is like the first time. But Kendrick, my goodness, he has a proven track record. And I love Kendrick's albums, and I know what he's capable of. I like his cadence. I like his rap style. I like all that. So I know that when he says something, whatever they come back with, he probably already has something cooking already. He probably already has a response. It's already written. It's already done. He know what's already done, bro. Like he just waiting for them to respond back. He's like, yeah, let me put this out. I already had it. It's done. So yeah, I'm going with K-Dot, man. I'm going with K-Dot.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Cole in this case. This is blind faith, obviously, because we haven't seen it just yet. But
yeah,
that dude J. Cole been rapping his ass off for a while. I wasn't a fan. Originally. Being completely honest.
What?
It took somebody. It took me living with, you know what I mean, my shorty at the time to really get me on the J. Cole. And I ain't gonna lie, I've appreciated I've appreciated the run that J. Cole has been on, being for real. Like I've appreciated his raps over the past few years. Off Season was one of my favorite albums the year that came out. So I'm definitely excited to hear Cole while he's in this bag as far as just putting out crazy verses to respond in a clever way, respond in a real MC style as opposed to just laying his sword down. So I think I'm gonna go with Cole in this situation. I'm hoping he don't prove me wrong. We're gonna have this footage for a while, so we can always come back to this and revisit this another time. But for the time being, for the sake of the debate, I definitely think J. Cole is going to show and prove in this situation and come out looking like the better MC for sure. Sure. Mark my words.
All right. I'll give you that. All right. So let's pivot. Let's talk about sports right now. Let's go into Deion Sanders on $1 million worth of game, talking about NIL deals and what's going on with him and the University of Colorado. And I'll let you start with this one because you got a little bit more information on it.
Yeah, so Coach Prime time Deion Sanders, NFL Hall of Famer, coach of the University of Colorado Buffaloes. Recently sat down with Gillian Wallow on $1 million worth of game podcast and real dope interviews surrounding the releasing of his book. Excuse me for not knowing the book title, off the top of my head, but did an interview with Gillian Wallow, two people who he's got a pretty good relationship with. They've been ambassadors for his programs for several years now. But there was an interesting comment that he made on the podcast that, we thought was definitely worth discussing a little bit more at length. He mentioned his son Shador, who plays quarterback for University of Colorado, as well as Travis Hunter, two-way wide receiver / cornerback for the Buffaloes also, and just their their futures. discussing their NFL hopes, and he made some bold statements, and in my opinion, pretty much stating that he believes that the two of them together will be drafted in the top 4 in next year's draft, and that certain cities won't have the opportunity to draft either of those players, and that they already have an idea in mind of where they'll be playing or where they'd like to be playing, and that certain cities won't, you know, won't qualify, won't meet what they're looking for in terms of their next destinations going to the professionals. And so, we analyzing Prime's comments, it brought us back to NIL. Both of these young dudes are still in college, obviously, but with NIL being as big as it is in today's game, they're both already millionaires. Travis Hunter recently bought his mom a house. You don't really hear about college students being able to buy their moms homes. So, they're not financially distressed to the point where, they're necessarily just excited for the opportunity to go to the pros. The situations have to make sense in their situation for them. And so, it just begs the question, like, first off, for me, to you, what do you think about Coach Prime's comments? Do you think that they'll be able to dictate where they do and don't want to go at the next level?
I mean, you're like I'm gonna say this, but you already got Caleb Williams. He's projected to go, and he's projected when the draft comes to go in the top. But he didn't participate in the combine. He didn't share his medical history with the whole NFL. So he's already being picky and choosy to what teams he's offering the information to. So he's already setting a precedent. So now you got these young players coming in next year. They've seen what he did. They're going to set a precedent too. Like, oh, what? I don't want the Browns to know about this. I don't want these other teams to know about this. I want this. I want to go talk to the New York Giants, or I want to talk to the to New England Patriots. I want to go talk to whatever Los Angeles Rams, whatever team, the top teams, right? So I think Deion's prediction. I think Deion is very optimistic. I think he might be seeing something in these boys that we don't see. Maybe I mean, like, that's a bold prediction to say the two people on your team is going to be top 4 in the draft of next year, not in 2 years, next year's draft. So how do you even know they're going to have another great season? His son was the most sacked in all of last year. So how do you know he's gonna be still gonna throw for 4,000 yards? Like, how do you you just know that? Like, that's automatic. You got Travis Hunter, who's a 2-way player. Okay, that's cool. But what is he gonna solidify when he goes into the league? Have you talked to him about, all right, cool, we're just gonna have you on defense this year, but you're still gonna have him play 2 ways? Like, I don't. That's Iron Man football. Like, I don't understand. That's high school. You do that. So it's kind of like, I mean, maybe he knows his players than anybody else, but I've never heard Nick Saban or anybody else say, these players we got here, they're going to be in the top 5 of the draft. I've never heard him say anything like that. That's a very bold prediction to say about your team, about your people on your team, when I've never heard any other coach say that. What other coach says, oh yeah, he's going to be in the top 1, top 2? Like, this is like, he sounds like LeVar Ball when he says this type of stuff. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. That's his, Shador is his son. He's going to hope for the best for his son. I get that. Travis Hunter, he plays for him. He's going to hope. I get all that. But, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's wildly optimistic. And it's just, I don't agree with it. I think with Deion, humility is not his best thing. Humility and humbleness is not his best sort. He speaks about being confident, which confidence is great. Confidence is a great thing to have, but sometimes confidence mixed with a little humility will get you a long way. But if it's all confidence, sometimes confidence can be mistaken for cockiness. So I think he's really riding the train of like, all right, yo, they're gonna go be top four, but it's like, bro, just let the season play out, man. Because like everybody says, it's any given Saturday or any given Sunday. You don't know what can happen. God forbid something first play of the game, boom, injured, done. Didn't Travis Hunter just get injured last year? Like, what are we talking about right now? So I don't know. I think he's just wildly optimistic, and I just don't like his take. I'd rather him just be quiet. Just be quiet, dude, and let the season play out. Like, why are you saying this type of stuff, man? I don't know. What's your take on it,
Nah,
dude?
I definitely agree with you. I agree with you. Like I think it. Well, so let me backtrack. Like I think because he mentioned it in the interview also that like obviously him being a former player, he's got a lot of relationships in the league still. So maybe there's a chance that he knows something that we don't know, that he's spoken to people who we're not, privy to speaking to. And so, he's speaking from an insider perspective, which I can appreciate. That being said, though, to your point, it's still a season to be played. And based on the way the season went last year, I don't think, with all due respect to them, I don't think that. Yeah, no, I mean they started off like gangbusters. You know what I'm saying? They came out the gun hot. Which was dope because they put the school in a different light than what they had previously had, and so
Right.
I definitely like appreciate the potential in the program and what Coach Prime is building at the program, but you know just based on the end result, like you mentioned, Travis got hurt last year. Shador was beat up to hell last year, like you
Man,
mentioned.
most sacked
Um,
quarterback
like
in college last year. Most sacked.
I mean, if you don't change that, then they're not going in the top four, and so it's still a season to be played. Like it's still a season to be played. The results have to be there to warrant, to warrant them both being top four, top five picks. Um, or else he's going to be looking crazy with his foot in his mouth that he made these comments. And like you said, it's not even that it's too far fetched in terms of them, maybe trying to throw their weight around, like you mentioned with Caleb Williams this year, already setting new precedents as far as the combine is concerned, not divulging medical to the 32 teams. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., who's not
Mm-hmm.
doing any workouts. I haven't read about if he's doing private workouts, but he didn't work out at the combine. He didn't work out at his pro day. I don't even think he did interviews with the teams. So these like we said, these kids is making a lot of money. Um, they don't necessarily have to bend to the traditions of the NFL, and so you know they're clearly trying to level the playing field in terms of exercising their power as opposed to just leaving the power into the hands of the 32 teams. Um, but it's going to look bad. Those comments are going to age terribly if Colorado doesn't have a really good season. And like you said, I can appreciate Deion, Coach Prime, and his confidence because I think in sports you gotta have that. Like you have to have that or you won't go far. And I think for him being as confident and carrying himself the way he has, over the past 30 years of his life, maybe even 40, however old he is, his entire life, it's gotten him to this point. So that's always what he's going to lean into. But for these students, for these kids who are trying to live out their dreams of becoming professional football players, not to say that you got to play the game, but there does have to be a level of, just like you said, humility, like just a level of, calmness to you, or like, not overconfident with every single thing. Like you got to be humble at different points, and you can't be the biggest talker and not be able to back up the talk. So if they back up the talk, dope. I'd love to see it. But as of right now, and I would say that I would think that if they have a good season, that they'll be projected to go high. So again, not far fetched at all, but it's going to take a lot for them to get there based on what we've already seen. So
Yeah.
only time is going to be able to tell that. But to the next point of the conversation, right? Because I think that's just like super micro to those individuals, but on like a wider scale, right? On like a bigger scale for college football, with NIL being as big as it is, and those aren't the only players in the country that are making millions. It's a lot of players now that, even if they're not, tens of millionaires, like 8 figures, they got a solid 7 figures coming in from playing college sports.
Yeah.
So, considering that, taking that into account, do you think that this is going to be a precedent that other players who don't have the last name Sanders, or who aren't getting coached by a former NFL player, are going to also look to use the leverage of the stardom and like the money that they've attained over the few years that they've played college football to dictate where they end up going professionally? Do you think that that's what we're expecting to see moving forward? Because it's not like it hasn't happened, but it'll be a new thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something where the NIL deals are great, but it's going to create a generation of athletes that are going to be super. Some of them are going to be super overvalued. Some of them are going to be hypervalued. Some of them are going to be undervalued. And I think it's going to create a situation where just because a player has a lot of hype doesn't mean he's going to do well in the National Football League. And we've seen that before with Johnny Manziel, a player that was super hype, probably one of the greatest college athletes that ever played the game of football. But when it came into the league, it just was a poop show. Like, he didn't transition well at all. He didn't look at his plays. He didn't read his plays. He didn't know how to do audibles. It was a lot of things, like basic things he just didn't know how to do. But when he was at Texas, he just did everything he was just playing backyard football back then. So I think you got a player that has the hype, got the look, but then when it comes to going to the NFL, they can't really do nothing. They don't know how to adjust. They don't know how to read the defense. And it's just going to be a lot of things where these players are going to come in, going to want to dictate how things are going to roll and how they want things. And it's like, as a team, like, what are you going to do? You want that player, right? You want that player. He's a top 10 draft pick. You want him, so you're going to court him. You're gonna appeal to him, and it's gonna be even worse before, because now it's like that player can say, well, how much money are you gonna pay me? Oh, I got more doing my NIL. I might as well just stay another year. Why not? Why would you leave your NIL deal to go play be a rookie quarterback and make $800,000-$900,000 when you get an NIL deal where you're making $2-3 million, $4 million, $5 million? So it's like, that's going to discourage a lot of players to leave college at that 2-3 year mark and probably stay there whole 4 years. You're gonna see a lot more players redshirting to get to maybe want to get that NIL deal and get that breakout season. So yeah, I think it's just gonna create a different landscape. Like, it's gonna be something we've never seen before, and it's probably gonna be something that's the norm, where the combine's probably gonna be something where that's not gonna be a thing anymore, because if you don't have the top athletes competing in the combine, you're not gonna see any type of breakout performances like that. Like, you don't want a bunch of average or middle of the pack athletes going in the combine. You want the guys that's the stars, the people that's really fast, the quarterbacks, the linemen that can really bench press, like that can move a lot of weight. You want to see those guys, or the ones that can jump really high. You don't really want to see the average guys, because they're going to do average things. They're not really going to impress you. All the top guys don't want to participate. You know what I mean? And there was only one guy that could do that back in the day, and that was Deion Sanders. He came in, he ran the 40, and that was it. He was gone because he had so much hype, and that's before NIL. Now it's going to be oversaturated. It's not. I don't think it's going to mean much no more. So I'm sorry to get long winded, but I just think it's just going to change the dynamic of everything. It's just going to be. It's just not going to be a fun thing.
No, I agree with you, man. I think
Fans.
that I think if things go how they're going, or if there's a lack of emphasis put on things like the scouting combine, that as time overpasses, we'll see it start to lose its value, and it's going to challenge a lot of these scouts to not just go off of numbers and go off of 40 times and cone drills and stuff like that. That you're gonna actually have to go out and do work. So I think it puts NFL teams in a different position than what they're used to, where the scouting combine may have been something that was like an honor to get invited to, whereas now, if players aren't or prospects aren't incentivized to go or to show up, then it loses its appeal, it loses its luster. Like you said, you know, it, every, I feel like every other year or so, there's that prospect that comes around that, you don't need to see him work out, you don't need to see him throw, or you don't need to see him run, because the tape is just so clear and evident that this dude is going to be able to thrive on the next level. But, you know, to your point, there are those mid-level guys who, the combine is still valuable for scouts and GMs to put their eyes on a player, or even just from an interview standpoint, get the opportunity to talk to a player. Although I've heard that the questions that get asked at the scouting combine can be a bit ridiculous at times. So I think it's definitely going to be something that if things trend the way they're trending right now, pro days are going to start to die down. I think we've already seen it, where like they're just not as important as they once were, especially to the point that you brought up about Johnny Manziel. Like, we've seen guys who show out at pro days, who show out at the combine. I can think of another player, Jamarcus Russell, who had like the craziest pro day ever. Had an amazing pro day, and then fizzled out quickly, was not able to play at the next level. Again, had some of the same stuff as Johnny. And so, like, when you have those examples of players who had all the hype in the world and were projected to be all-time greats that didn't end up panning out, that it's going to start making sense for players just to skip those events altogether, especially if you already are a millionaire, if you've already made $1 million, $2-3 million,
Right.
and you're not incentivized to go there. You're not, it's and I'm not an athlete, so I can't speak from an athlete perspective, but everything that I've looked into at this point, it's a different process training for the combine as opposed to like training for the season. When you're training for the combine, you're just looking to get the drills done as quickly as possible, or have your times look as good as possible. But that might not be like actual season training, where you focused on getting your body in shape, you focused on running routes, you focused on your break at the line of scrimmage, or your get off. And so some of those workouts don't necessarily translate to on the field. And if you are a prime athlete, you might be more so inclined to focus on the actual workouts that are actually going to benefit you in your job. So it's two sides to every coin. I can see why the players feel how they feel. I can also see why the organizations, the teams, prioritize the combine and pro days and private workouts and all of that different stuff. But we in a new time, man. We in a new time where it's like a player empowerment time. Players have a lot of say so. They have a lot of control in all sports, not just football, basketball, baseball, soccer. It's a player empowerment season at this point. So I definitely think that with Caleb Williams handling things, how he handled things this draft season, Marvin Harrison Jr., the other high profile quarterbacks that didn't work out as well, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Yeah, I think we in that era, and it's gonna be it may be a slow change, like it might not be something instantaneous. You may see, the rare 5-star player who is highly decorated from freshman to junior year that you know can throw that weight around. But over time, as more money starts coming in, because NIL isn't necessarily big everywhere just yet, but it's going to be for
Oh yeah, big
sure.
time, big time.
So once we get to that point where every major or all of the major college programs have like an NIL department that works on getting players deals and getting them paid, then we will start seeing players be extremely picky with the circumstances that they end up walking into at the next level. So, yeah, as we said with the other topics, time is going to be the biggest purveyor in this whole thing. Like, time is going to tell it all at the end of the day. But we in for an interesting time coming up in sports. How things are going right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I agree with everything you said. I think you know it's going to set new precedents. Everything's going to change and evolve, and like you said, this is the players' opportunity era, right? Everything is player focused. So whatever the player want to do, it's going to happen. Um, Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I think Chris and I kind of covered that to an extent. I don't know if you want to add anything. I know we were gonna cover Diddy, but we're gonna save that for another podcast. And because I want
Okay,
to talk in length about that. And I think I want to give the podcast justice, and I want to give a lot of time on this Diddy thing because it's very salacious. There's a lot of intricacies in it, and it's a lot of lawsuits and a lot of information. And I really want to give you guys the best information possible and our opinions on it as well. And I don't want to cut you guys short. So with that being
for
said,
sure.
CP, if you got any final words, then we can end the
Yeah.
pod.
Final word. We're not gonna stay on this too long, but just wanted to, send our condolences to everybody in Baltimore, anybody who may have been affected by the recent events that took place in Baltimore with that cargo ship collapsing the Key Bridge there in Baltimore. Condolences to everybody who may have been impacted by it. Yeah, condolences, prayers, well wishes, thoughts, everything. I couldn't imagine being there personally. I don't think I got any relatives in Baltimore anymore. But yeah, like I said, we're not going to get into too many details because obviously a lot of things are still being unpacked as far as that's concerned. But didn't want to jump off here without just acknowledging that our thoughts and prayers are with everybody. We wish for the best in that situation.
Absolutely. Likewise, thoughts and prayers to the victims of the I think it's Francis Scott Key Bridge that went down. Um, you know, hopefully everything is going well with you guys, and hopefully this trauma can kind of pass, and they can figure out what the issue is, and try to make that situation a lot better for the victims as well. So peace and love to y'all, and well wishes to the victims, and condolences.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's it for us, though. This is episode 16. Your boys are
16.
back. Chris Porter, my good brother MDot, as always. We appreciate everybody checking in with us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Who asked y'all to on Instagram? M period dot dot lem 18 for my brother
There you go.
Chris Porter for me. Make sure you tap in with us. Again, appreciate all the support. We up out of here, man. Episode 16.
Peace. Peace.